Welcome back to part two of the conversation with Cardvoyant Kris, my sister, and we are going to be talking about some politics now. And this is part two of our conversation. And so welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah, I had talked to about two things, and one of them I mentioned on the channel, one of them I didn't. Both of them I'm like, it's for entertainment purposes only. Don't come and get me because I don't know. But one of them was that I saw Putin really having a difficult time, and that it's almost like he wouldn't be able to do exactly what he did last time because he's going to be fighting for his own life in his own country. It's his own political survival. So I saw that for him. And then Benjamin Netanyahu, I saw, I don't know how to say this. Let me just say, I saw a planning of an attempt to get him out of the way. Let me just put it that way. I don't want to put it, but that's what I saw. So I feel like there's something going on with something about planning with him being removed or gone quickly. So, so I saw that, and then I think those are the only. Did we look at something else?
Those are the ones that I looked at today with the cards, and I just picked a couple of cards just because we had talked about it last night.
Right.
And the Putin one to me was so interesting because it was this Cups card. It was so fun with this scene of it's this very nostalgic scene, and it's the one child or grandparent or one figure giving like a flower to the other figure. It's very
giving flowers.
It's kind of bucolic scene, it's like this beautiful nostalgic scene, and it even feels kind of like you said, kind of old Russian-y.
Yeah.
So that was one of the cards, and I got this distinct feeling that there is going to be a movement, and you got this right away when I said
same thing. Yeah.
This old Russia feel of this need and this desire and this push to go back to that.
Right.
Go back to this time that wasn't about, dictators or
oligarchs
pretending to be, democratic, and this move to going back to this better time. And it was actually a time, and I can't quite pinpoint it. I was telling Kim, I'm not sure if it was immediately after World War II, which it might have been, or earlier than that. But this feeling of there was such hope at that time that Russia was emerging, or, USSR or whatever it was at that time, emerging as a power, as someone who was looked at as good instead of evil, because, after they really defeated the Nazis in that part of the world, there was such good feelings between all of the allies, and it was lost when these powers came into being, and it was just such a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
And I just felt like there's just going to be this push to go back to that. However it comes about for Putin, it's not good for him because he doesn't stand for any of that.
Yeah.
But that it will come about. That's what it felt like it was coming about. And that part of this whole lockdown, shutdown thing is part of that, because first of all, there's so much going wrong in Russia right now. There's so much deception, and there's the virus is so prolific, and they're just in a lot of ways it's here, but amplified, very much amplified. So it's going to be a disaster, I think, for their leadership going forward.
Right.
But also you have all these people who are locked down just like we are, and it's making you reassess what you support and what you don't support, and what you love and what you don't love, and what you're willing to put up with.
Right.
The people, my son lived in Russia for a while, and he's actually married to someone who's Russian, and they're separated right now because of the pandemic. It's a long story with visas and stuff like that, but right now. But I remember him talking about the last election that they had, and how the polls have like free food and there's bands and stuff, and people go and they vote, but they're under no illusion about what's happening. The Russian people understand that their vote means nothing, but it's something that you do because you're supposed to do, and maybe someday it will mean something. But I think that so often we think, oh, the Russian people are just duped and they don't know what's going on, and or they support Putin, whatever. And it's not true at all. It's very much like here. There are people who, we wouldn't want to be thought of as, most of us wouldn't want to be thought of as people who don't know what's going on, or they're duped, or they follow someone blindly, and sometimes violently. We wouldn't want that to be, that's who we all are. We wouldn't want that thought of that way. And
right now, we don't want people to think that we're Trump. I mean, people know that we're,
That's exactly it. I mean, some people are, but that's exactly the same way there, and in all countries, people. Are and in every place in the world are people who are very aware of the shift that's happening and trying to do these things that sort of bring it forward.
Right.
So that was what I got for Putin, and you've sort of seen, as you said, similar things.
And as we were sitting here, I thought, if it can't help Trump the way that he did before, and there is a Joe Biden that comes in, you think about the heavy sanctions that are going to be put on Russia, because they'll be paying for what happened here, because it's all going to come out. I just see when Trump goes, I just see information coming out just over and over, just all these horrible things. It just it never stops. Just all these things they got away with while he was in there, these conversations, Khashoggi stuff about him. I just see all of this stuff just coming out, and it's going to be a lot about Russia. And I just think if he's still there, I think that the sanctions are going to be horrible for him, especially for his oligarch friends. And I think that, and if he can't do anything for them, what good is he? They're all a bunch of
that's true.
Self-serving people. So, so anyway.
And then Netanyahu, the cards that I got for him, and they were two major arcana cards in the 2-card reading, and one was the Justice card and one was the Hierophant card. And I told Kim that I felt like justice, in whatever form that takes, is going to meet him head on, and he is going to sort of get his just desserts one way or the other. I mean, he's already been indicted on corruption charges, and there are so many things. He's very much like Trump in that, and even Putin, in that there's so much that you don't know. That people suspect or think he may have been involved in, but you don't really know.
Well, and nobody wants him there. It's what's wrong with these people? Get out! We don't want you there. It's his people don't even want him there. It's get out.
Yeah.
Yes. Or Trump, it's get out already. Nobody wants you. Nobody wants you.
People in power. It's incredible, with Trump, he didn't even win the popular vote.
I know. I know.
It's insane. But so I feel like this justice is going to be served as far as he's concerned. I would say sooner than later. I feel like this year, or within the next 12 months, I should say. But then that Hierophant card, I really feel like, because the Hierophant card is this sort of religious figure, and I feel like the person who comes in, who replaces him, and not interim, but long term. So I don't know if there's an interim person in between, but the person who comes in and takes control of the country is very religious. And that's not something that's been true of the leaders of Israel, despite it being, the Jewish state. The leaders, for the most part, have been very secular. And this person who comes in, I feel like is quite religious, quite devoted, quite sincere in their religious beliefs. And and so takes that sort of like all the best parts that you would think of religion or any religion, that compassion and love and, looking out for others, takes that and brings it into the government. And it's a big shift,
right,
for Israel. But that's
and when you talked about him, I could see a person. I said to Kristen before we got on that I saw a younger man, seemed like kind of like an Obama or like a Trudeau, where they had like a lot of charisma and they were very well liked, they were also very nice people. They were just very like kind people, had a really good nature about them that people really responded to. So yeah, that's what I saw.
Such a nice thing for that region,
Yes.
He's just such a great thing. So yeah,
right.
So
and then lastly, we wanted to talk about the Joe Kennedy thing, because it kind of a lot of people read on it because people were curious what other psychics would say.
Right.
And some said, yeah, they kind of saw the same thing. And some people said not, maybe later, but not now. And they had different takes on it. But we were talking again, and I said to Kris, because she said that she never saw Joe Biden getting to the finish line, but she saw a younger man, Joe Kennedy, right, kind of coming in and saving the day.
And people were kind of upset that I said that.
Right. And people were like, well, how's that going to happen? Because we already had the convention. Right. but I said to Kristen, because I was thinking about Joe Biden, because I also feel like he's going to leave early on, whether it's before his term or right after his term. It's going to be early.
Yeah.
And I do feel like it might be health related thing. But a scenario that could happen is that Joe Biden picks his VP, and when he steps down, his VP moves into that slot, and then she picks Joe Kennedy as her vice president, and that's how he gets. That's kind of how he
possible way for it to happen.
Right. And so that is a scenario that that feels kind of right, and I feel like that could happen. I also think, do you have any idea who he might pick for his VP? Do you have any ideas?
I mean, just not necessarily from like the cards or anything, and I haven't.
Yeah.
But I kind of should, but just the people that have been mentioned.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's anybody that we're thinking of. Do you feel that way? Or do you feel like it's one of the, because the people I always hear about are Elizabeth Warren, Stacey Abrams, Klobuchar, and Kamala Harris.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't know. I know who I think intellectually who I would pick.
Right.
Who he would be more likely to pick. But because if I went with that, I would just say Harris is kind of who I would think that he would pick.
I think that intuitively, I feel like you named the people that I feel like they're looking at and leaning towards. I feel like at this point he's leaning towards either Stacey Abrams or Kamala Harris. Mm-hmm. But intellectually, I think Kamala Harris would be a better pick, not because Stacey, she couldn't do the job, but she's been a senator, she has experience, but also she could be easily replaced, I think, in California, because California is so Democratic. She'd probably be replaced no problem with the Democrat. Whereas the other senators, they could, Elizabeth Warren, we don't really know. Klobuchar, we don't really know. They're in, maybe we're not really sure if they could be replaced with a Democrat. And I feel like the Senate, we're going to take the Senate, but I do feel like it's going to be like a lot closer than the House. The House will be like no problem, but the Senate will be close, but I do think we'll take it.
Yeah, I hope so. I kind of feel that way too. I mean, I feel, yeah. So yeah, there's all kinds of political reasons where I could see that Harris would be a good choice, where she's from, the part of the country too, and there's just all kinds of stuff. So, but I don't know, because I do think that there's the off chance that it could be somebody that we aren't thinking of.
It could be. It absolutely could be.
Yeah. So, so it's interesting to see. But I was going to say, the thing about just saying something like that, and And I've learned, and we've talked about this a lot, to just, if it comes to you, especially like when you're reading and so forth, she got a bandana.
She got her nails clipped today, so she got a bandana for being a good girl. And she likes it. Like she likes dressing up and stuff.
Clearly.
She's just being noisy. So I just picked her up. Hello, it's Lucy. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that the thing about that we've talked about in readings is that when you have an impression, even if it's kind of out of left field, you just go with it. I mean, you really need to.
Right.
And that's what I did that day when you were asking, when we were talking about it, and not knowing at all how it could come about. I just out there, and also not knowing timing, because like you just mentioned, I've never felt like Joe Biden like gets there, like is like on the, like we could actually vote for him, but timing is such a weird thing. You know, that could be more in relation to a second term, like you said.
Right.
So I was, when people were saying, oh, not this election, but maybe it'll be Kennedy in 4 years or 8 years.
Right.
It didn't feel that way to me, but I'm very open to it, because time is just such a weird thing to try and deal with. So,
it is, yeah, and I feel like too, this season in particular, this campaign season, is going to be so weird. Nothing's going to be normal. The conventions aren't going to be normal. The way this, so who exactly? Everything seems very topsy-turvy and kind of like this. I know Trump's going. I know we're going to take the House. I know we're going to take the Senate. Again, you have to go with it. If you feel it, you've got to go. You've got to go with it. It feels
like, and you can tell me if this rings true at all to you, it feels almost to me like the Democrats run a campaign, and that the Republicans are just crazy town. It's not like even an orchestrated campaign. It's just vitriol and accusations and stuff. And meanwhile, the Democrats are running this campaign in a rather traditional sense, but like you said, with all this, but they're having to deal with the craziness. But it feels like the GOP can't even sort of orchestrate a traditional campaign because well, first of all, they would fail miserably. And so it's just a matter of all these things that they put out there. I don't think there'll be any debates. I don't think there'll be, anything that's traditional.
Right.
And yet and through that, the Democrats will be seen as, if nothing else, sane,
Yes.
So,
well, and I
understand, and having these leadership qualities.
Right.
For most of us, we're getting pretty tired of having no leadership.
Right. And, I also intuitively felt that I don't know who is running his campaign. It feels like a woman. I'm not sure if it is a woman, but whoever it is, they're very sharp. They know what they're doing, and they have a plan. They have planned this out. So I feel like whoever is running his campaign is really good.
That's good.
I don't know who it is. I'll have to get off and find out who it is. But intuitively, it felt like they know what they're doing. They have a plan. They get it. They know what to do.
Thank goodness somebody does.
Yeah, exactly. Well, good. Well, okay. Thanks, Intuitive viewers. Thanks for hanging out with us. And I am at intuitiveview@gmail.com. If you want to be on the waiting list, or if you want to find out more about classes, just put classes in the description. And if you're looking for a reading now and you need it within the next little while or soon, please get in touch with Kris at cardvoyant.com. And she's excellent. I highly, highly recommend her. She's read for me for years, and for Cassie, our family. So please look her up, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.